Peoples of the worldwide federated internet, what is good? What's going on? Question for y'all. Why don't fathers matter? I know I'm getting right to it today. Why don't fathers matter? Why are fathers, when it comes to parenting, looked at as a secondary parent? Like a parent that's just we can keep you tucked away, and in case we need you, we'll bring you out, but we're not gonna need you. Dads are seen as like the no frills parent. Why is that? Why don't dads matter? Why aren't dads just as important? Now, this is not about bashing women. That's definitely not what this is. But why are fathers not important? You know, when God created Adam and Eve, if you don't believe the Bible, take it up with God. I'm talking my talk. When God created Adam and Eve, there's something that happened. There's a union that was established at this very point. The book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 24. The Bible says, "Therefore shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh." And I've often thought about this. And everything going on in creation, one of the first things established is the family. So I ask you again, why don't fathers matter? Now, I know some of you are going to say, oh, fathers do matter to me. If fathers matter, why is it that as far as society, fathers are allowed to be pretty much screwed over, court case after court case after court case? If you've never looked into divorce proceedings when it concerns fathers, I highly admonish you look into that. And the number of lopsided cases where the father is pretty much cut out of the picture outside of a paycheck, it's really pretty crazy. Now, I've thought to myself, could it be that just all of these fathers are deadbeats? And that's why the rulings go the way they go? I don't believe that's what it is. Mothers are definitely important. And this is definitely not to tear down a mother. That's not what this is about. But there's not enough importance placed on the place of a father in a child's life. I grew up without my father. My father passed away not too long ago. Me and him actually started talking probably, I want to say, about 10 or 11 years ago. And I'm glad we did. I'm really glad we did. But there's things that I missed growing up, not having a father around. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I missed out on a lot. Fathers are important, especially to a young man. I'm not saying they're not as important to a young woman, because I believe they are. But I ask you the question, why aren't fathers important? Now, again, in your mind, you might be saying, but they are important to me. As far as society, why is there not a bigger outcry on men who get screwed over in divorce proceedings? And I know a bunch of them. Now, I'm not saying that, everybody that has a ruling go a certain way in a divorce proceeding maybe didn't do something to warrant that ruling. But I'm telling you, more times than not, men get screwed over in court when it comes to divorce proceedings and children for one reason and one reason alone. Because he's a man. That's it. There's no other reason. And what that does, think about what that does to the psyche of a whole generation, the psyche of a whole nation. Why don't fathers matter? If I could go back in time, growing up, money is not what I'd want more of. It would be nice. I'm not going to lie to you. I ain't going to even hold you. It'd be nice. What I would want is my father to be around. to be able to talk to him, to be able to work through some things. I had to learn how to be a man from trial and error. No young man should have to do that. A father is a guide. There is duality to life. There's certain qualities that a mother has that a child needs. That's part of that emotional nutrition. But also part of that emotional nutrition is a father. There's certain things that a father can offer that a mother can't. It's not that a man is better than a woman or a father is better than a mother. It's different roles. If you're missing either one of those pieces while you're growing up, you will be an incomplete person. I am talking from experience. So why don't fathers matter? I watched a documentary. I'm trying to remember the name of this documentary, and for the life of me, I can't remember the name of it. There was a feminist, and she set out to do a documentary on feminism and women's rights. And so in her documentary, she said, I'm going to interview some of these men's rights advocates and see what's going on. And I can't remember exactly how she thought she was going to infuse that into her documentary. After she talked to some of these people, that documentary turned into a men's rights documentary. She went from being a rabid feminist to realizing, oh man, I had this whole thing backwards. Men are getting screwed over. I've read stories of men who are not allowed to see their kids after a divorce proceeding that have committed suicide. Men that have gone broke trying to get lawyers so they can take their ex-wives to court to work something out so they can see their kids. Gone broke, destitute. Why don't fathers matter? And what's the end goal? What's the game? What's the plan here? Why is this going on? Now, you may not believe the Bible. And if that's you, hey, fine and dandy. But let's just say, right, for those who don't believe the Bible, tune out if you want. Let's just say you're the devil. You've been around for thousands of years. You want to tear down a society. What's the first thing you think you would do? God created what first? He created man. He saw that Adam was alone, said, hey, this is not good. Adam needs somebody there for him. He needs help. He created Eve. If you wanted to tear down a generation and you wanted to tear down a society, what would you do? Want the answer to that? You'd get rid of the man. This is why when I hear women who are single mothers, now granted, understand, I'm not saying if there's a man that is not doing his job, won't take care of his responsibilities, doesn't want to be involved with his child, by all means, you have to do what you have to do and you have to make it and provide for that kid. I understand that happens. But I hear so many women who simply because they get mad at their kid's father, I don't need him and I don't need him around. No, the opposite is true. You do need him around, not for you, for the kid. If it's one thing I realized when I became a parent, almost every decision I've made since the day I became a father has been about my children, not about myself. One of the problems I see in people that have that mentality, I don't need him, is selfishness. This is not about you. This is not about him. This is about that child and what that child needs. I often wonder sometimes, don't get me confused. I'm not saying people shouldn't take care of their kids, But I wonder sometimes how many divorces would have happened if the woman knew she would get no money at all, no assistance, and no help. That's not a slam on women. I'm just saying, why don't fathers matter? I think there's a grander, more evil scheme hidden behind all of this. Remove the father out of the home. Remove that necessary piece to the nurturing and raising of a child. And you can tear down a whole society. I'm just saying. I'm not saying you will eliminate every societal problem just by fathers being more involved. But I often wonder, would crime be what it is? Would jails be filled the way they are? Would ignorance be as rampant as it is? Would debauchery be celebrated as much as it is? When you go back 50, 60, even 70 years, there were things that were messed up, sure, but there were some things that were right. Men taught young men respect. Now, because we have generations of young men who have turned into men and grew up without fathers, look at the things they celebrate. How many women you've slept with. Not whether you found a nice young lady that you could build a future with, get married and have a family, but how many women you've slept with. Now, I'm not laying all the blame at the feet of fatherless homes. Sure, there's other things at play, but I wonder how much of that would have been solved if we had homes with fathers around. So again, I ask you, why don't fathers matter? Stay frosty, people.